Hello music people. In this video, I am going to answer the question, what chord am I playing? In the process of writing an original song and trying to write it out on a lead sheet, you may come across a chord that you came up with on the guitar or on the piano because you kind of thought it sounded good. You know, maybe you kind of discovered the chord by accident or trial and error, and you don't really know what notes it is you're playing and what kind of a chord, what to call the chord. So what do you do about that? How do you figure out the chord that you're playing? Some chords are really straightforward, and you just kind of have them memorized as a guitarist, right? That's a G chord because you've memorized that. That's easy. But what if you've got some other unusual chord? What do you do? Well, let me talk about pianists first, because I think it's a little easier for most pianists to figure out what chord they're playing, because all they would really have to do is look at the keys that they're pressing down, and then maybe on a piece of paper or something, they can write out all of the letter names of the notes that they're playing, and then they can use their theoretical knowledge to figure out what chord those notes comprise, right? And for guitar, it's a little bit different because it's for some guitarists, it's not always easy, to see the notes, all of the notes that they're playing in a chord, especially if they're not used to thinking about what notes they're playing on a guitar. If they're used to just thinking about the shapes that their hand and their fingers are making, they're not used to thinking, well, wait a minute, what notes, which pitches am I actually playing when I strum, these six strings, or if it's a five-string chord? What notes are really sounding right now, right? And so you might have to figure that out. So I'm going to use an example of a chord that some guitarists might stumble across, and they might not know what it is and how to label it on a lead sheet. So this is a chord I really like, actually. So what I'm doing is I'm putting my fingers in the shape of a bar chord. I'm strumming all six strings, but instead of making this finger, go flat across the fifth fret, I'm actually just pressing down on the low E string here, and I'm leaving the top two strings open. And the result is this. So it's a pretty cool chord, and you might say to yourself, look, I love this chord. It's a crucial part of the song. I want all the guitarists and even the pianists to play the chord in this way at this part of the song. How do I notate that? How do I indicate that on a lead sheet? What chord is it that I'm even playing? But here's what you have to do. You have to go through each string that you're strumming and look at which fret you're pressing down, or if it's an open string, consider the open string, and go through one at a time, figure out what pitch they are, and write down all the different pitches that you're playing, and then figure out what the chord is. Well, how do you do that? Well, if this is something that you're very new to doing on the guitar, then what you'll have to remember is, first of all, what pitches a guitar is tuned to. And, from top string to bottom string, it is E, B, G, D, A, E. That's standard E tuning. If you use a different tuning, then you'll need to apply what I'm telling you to whatever tuning you're using, right? But if you're in standard E tuning, then that is what each of the strings are when you're not pressing down any of the frets, all right? And remember that each fret represents one semitone. So as you go up the neck of your guitar, you are going up one semitone. All those notes are one semitone apart. And so for some of you, if it's the first time that you're doing this, you might just want to kind of take your time and go through every string and just, go up one semitone until you reach the fret that you're playing, and count each of the notes. And just remember that, in terms of sharps and flats, there's no such thing as an E sharp when you're counting in this way, and there's also no such thing as a B sharp. Okay, so so if we start on the lowest string, take this chord, we start on the lowest string and go E, F, because remember there's no E sharp, so we go right from E to F. E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A. Okay, so I know that I'm playing an A, so you might need a piece of paper. Okay, write down I'm playing an A. All right, and then next string up. Okay, we've got A as an open string, and we've got A, B flat, B, C, C sharp, D, E flat, E. There we are. Oh, okay, I'm playing an E, so you might need to write down E. You do the same thing, and what you may end up finding out is that you're playing, when you're strumming chords, you might end up finding out that you're playing the same pitch 2 or more times. And that's one of the things that makes guitar such a beautiful instrument, is a lot of times you're actually doubling certain notes, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes it's actually the same note, sometimes the notes are an octave apart. And this chord is a good example of that, because I'm playing A, E, and then there's another A. Those two A's are an octave apart. So with the first 3 strings, I'm actually only playing 2 different notes. I'm just playing A and E. So on a piece of paper or something, you'd write down A and E. What's the next note up? What note is that? Let's see, I'm on the 6th fret of the G string. So start on G. G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, C sharp. All right, playing a C sharp. Okay, so far I've got A, E, and C sharp. Okay, if I reorder those a little bit and think A, C sharp, E, hey, that's A major. That's an A major chord. But what about these top 2? I've just got these open strings up at the top playing at the same time as the A major chord. What notes are those? Well, remember I said before, the open strings are B and E. Those are the top 2 pitches there. B and E. Well, E I already accounted for down here. All right, so I've got E, but B is a new note. Okay, so I'm playing 4 different notes. I'm playing A, B, C sharp, and E. So you look at those 4 notes and you think, well, what chord is that? Well, you use your theoretical knowledge and you'll realize that, oh, that's an A2. A2 is expressed differently. Sometimes it's written as A2, sometimes it's A sus2, sometimes it's A add2. And if you were wanting to be really specific in this case, this would be A add2, because you're actually playing an A major chord with an added second. Sometimes people even write it out as an A add 9. Which is kind of, I don't know, A add 2 is just makes a little more sense to me. To me, a 9 chord, I just associate that with 5-note chords on top of the dominant 7 chord. But anyway, different ways to to go about notating it. But that's basically the process that you follow. And it's like anything else. The more that you do it, the better you'll get, and you'll find little tips and tricks along the way. You'll realize, for instance, that the dots, are on your on your fretboard will make things a little bit easier, especially if you know your intervals. So this chord, for example, a lot of these the frets I was pressing down were kind of huddled right around the 5th fret, right? And if you can remember that the 5th fret, and there's even a dot on the 5th fret of most guitars. If you remember that the 5th fret is a perfect 4th up from the pitch of the open string, it's a perfect 4th. So that kind of saves you some time from having to go up 1 semitone all the way up to the 5th to the 5th fret. You just remember, okay, that's an open string. So okay, 5th fret, perfect 5th up or perfect 4th up from E. That's A. Okay, I know that. And you'll get faster. The 7th fret, where there's also a dot on, I think probably every guitar has a dot on the 7th fret. That's a perfect 5th up from the open string, right? So if you play the 7th fret on the A string, oh, what's a perfect 5th above A? E. Okay, that's why it's helpful to know your intervals, you can get little shortcuts like that for figuring out what notes, what pitches you're playing on the guitar when you're playing certain chords. All right, so hope that helps, and stay tuned for the next part of our video series here on building lead sheets of original songs.